And the first game we're going to cover here is Ole Miss going to Florida. This is the new SEC podcast game of the week. Overall right now, the over-under is 55.5. We're recording this on Monday night, and Ole Miss is favored by 10.5. That's a very large spread, given the football we've seen Florida played. And so, Hunter, what are some of your initial thoughts when you think about this game?
Yeah, I think I got to look at what Ole Miss does well, what Florida does well, and maybe the discrepancies on the two sides. Although Lagway did not play in the Florida-Texas game, when you're looking at Ole Miss's offense, you have to take into consideration what Texas was able to do in that game against Florida. And I think Ole Miss plays a similar style of football. The depth of target's a little bit deeper. They're throwing the ball downfield, and it worked for Texas. I think that Ole Miss offensively has the opportunity to do that in this game. Now, it was probably because Florida's offense wasn't on the field too long. Now that Lagway's back, if you listen to our recap episode from last week, the Florida team has been different with him at the helm.
Yep. Florida team has looked significantly different with Lagway at the helm. He's definitely been the story of the season for that Florida team. And we talked about Ball and from a rushing perspective as well. But for Ole Miss, you're completely right. Their offense has the ability to play similar to a Texas, who both have those weapons across the field. Wells, Watkins, maybe we see Trey Harris back this game potentially. And so it could pose a challenge for this Florida defense, which is still kind of, teetering at bottom 5 in the conference, but has played some improved football of late.
Yeah. If you're stacking some different stats around the SEC or college football in general, you're going to find Ole Miss at the top of a lot of those. And it's not from a lack of competition played. I mean, they're first in sacks in the country by a wide margin, almost getting 5 per game. They have maybe the best pass rush in all of college football, one of the best linebackers in the country. And that's a lot to deal with if you're Florida. Lagway would be the guy to do it, especially if he's slinging the ball downfield. I'm not sure if Florida's O-line can hold this off. I think it's going to be more on Florida's defense to see if they can stop Ole Miss from an offensive standpoint.
Absolutely. And, we don't talk about him as much, maybe because it's expected at this point, but Jackson Dart is sitting at, top 5 in the country right now when it comes to yards and touchdowns on the season. And, one thing I think in Florida's defense, if you're looking for a sign of optimism for this offensive line, is how they played against Georgia, at least until Lagway left the game. So I think although I believe Ole Miss has a stronger defense than Georgia does, we saw that when Ole Miss played Georgia. Yeah. I do think if you see that Florida offensive line and offensive performance those first 3 quarters, this could be a much closer game than a 10.5 point spread.
Yeah. I think it'll be an interesting performance from Florida. Like offensively, I think they'll have a couple things click. They're going to have a hard time running the ball, which has been the saving grace and what's opened up some things for the offense. Lagway is doing great at throwing the ball downfield. They're just going to struggle to run. Ole Miss, another thing, they're number 1 in the nation in opponent yards per carry, only giving up like just over 2 yards per carry, which is crazy. But when I'm looking at Ole Miss, I was trying to figure out, when they played LSU, like, what did other teams do that worked effectively against them at certain times? And it was throwing the ball downfield when they could make that happen. LSU was one of the teams to do that. Lagway's been doing that. It's just all about getting him the time to do it. So really, though, I like Ole Miss's offense in this game more than anything, and I think that's going to be the reason why I think Ole Miss wins.
I like it. I like it. Ole Miss's offense is really strong. What I put in the notes for this game is the Swamp home field advantage back. Florida is 4-2 at home, coming off of a big home win over LSU. I like Florida in this game. I'm going to go on a whim, and I'm going to pick Florida in this one. I think it'll make some fans happy in the SEC. I like Florida to take this game 30-24.
Okay. I like it. I think the home field advantage is definitely something. To me, Ole Miss right now with so much to play for, sitting right on the fringe of a playoff team. I think that they're surging. I think that they have the potential to do this. I like Ole Miss winning big in covering. I like Ole Miss 42-17.
Okay.
They're leading the country in big plays. They're throwing the ball downfield. I think that that's a recipe for a lot of points.
I could definitely see that outcome happening. I just feel like there's a little bit of, SEC magic happening in this one potentially. Florida's, looking improved right now. Ole Miss is a better team. I'm not saying it's Florida's a better team, but I like Florida in this one. Hunter likes Ole Miss in this one. It's a swamp, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, right?